Good morning, everybody. So we just saw each other on Thursday, but I'm so happy to be back with you today, Saturday morning, 10 a.m. and we are here with Effie Phillips-Staley, and I'm so glad that she was able to come back and join us. And we're going to be talking about immigration today, a really critical issue in our campaign that we can both anticipate was an important issue in 2024. It's going to be another important issue over the course of the next year or so. Again, for those I haven't met, hi. Last night we were actually out in the backyard and got this shot of our new pup, and it just reminded me that it is very much summertime in the Hudson Valley, and I hope you are all enjoying it. My name is Kevin McAvey, and it's been my pleasure over the course of the past 5-6 months and actually getting to interview many of the candidates on your behalf, raise questions for them, and I've appreciated all of the comments and questions that have come my way. Sorry if I can't get to all of them. But I do hope to represent you in these conversations and bring the candidates to you, so you get to know them as we figure out who is best positioned to represent us next year. I'm a father of 3, a Bedford resident, a Democrat, a state healthcare policy expert, and a good government advocate. Thank you again for joining this morning. The purpose of these forums, just as a reminder, is to engage New Yorkers living across the district, whether Northern Westchester, Rockland County, Putnam County, Southern Dutchess County, equipping us all with information about the issues impacting us and our families, our households, and our businesses, and to help us identify the best person to represent our interests in 2026. We do this through 3 ways. We discuss the issues, we're fostering community, and we're introducing the candidates. Again, I truly appreciate all the support you guys have lent this live stream and this effort. We really do believe that this is the people's primary. We have 7 talented candidates declared so far. Jeremy has a little asterisk next to his name. We actually had a new candidate declare this week, which would make the field up to 8. And again, having met each and every one of these candidates, I can say that they're all talented. Their hearts are in the right places. They have great values, and they each bring different assets to this conversation. And I can't wait to see how this campaign in the field evolves over the course of the next 6 months. We have great choices for a potential candidate. My challenge to you remains getting involved, finding your candidate, knowing your stuff, and staying positive. Our district is expansive. Again, crossing 4 different counties here. I'm going to make myself really small on your screen. Northern Westchester, Rockland, Putnam, and Southern Dutchess. And on Thursday, I shared some of the names and contact information for if you're living in one of the towns in Northern Westchester, how you can get involved. I am going to post this full roster. And I do think at this point in time, people wanting to know, how can I make a difference? How can I get involved? Go to a monthly meeting. It's not hard. Sometimes it seems intimidating to join fellow Democrats or just kind of break up your routine. And the work week is such can be such a grind for so many of us, to interrupt it at the end of the day at 6 or 7 p.m. But this is how you can help change where we're going. Getting involved just starts with joining many of your fellow Democrats across the country. If you're a Republican or independent, I promise you, I assure you, you will be welcome at any of these meetings to participate and actually join in the conversation, share your perspective. For folks of the younger generations, this is what we need you to do. We need you to get involved. I'm all over social media with you. I'm not doing it well, but you're teaching me how to do it better, and I would encourage you to also get out. Putnam County towns, I'm adding to this list. Every time we'll do a live stream, I'll add more and more contacts until I post the final folio. But Putnam County, Jennifer, Colomanico, Kent, Patterson, Phillipstown, Putnam Valley, Southeast Carmel. I would encourage you to please reach out to your local Democratic committee, see how you can get involved, join local committee meetings as you can. This is the time to do it. We're about 10 months out from our Democratic primary, and I don't know, 18 months or so out from our 16 months out from our election in November 2026. And now is the time to get involved. It's never more important. If you don't know, if you don't see your name, or like I went through it so too quickly, just email me, kevinfornewyork@gmail.com. I will email you back and tell you the person to get in touch with to get and how to get involved. I promise. And challenge number 2 is to find your candidates. Again, we have such talent in this field, and you don't have to necessarily pick one candidate at this point in time, but I would encourage you to watch some of our past interviews, get to meet them at so many of the events that they're holding across the district, sign up for their newsletters, and pick one or two. I would suggest making a starting donation of $20.26. I am not getting any of this money, but I do think it's a symbol of support as these candidates look to demonstrate their ability to galvanize, to bring people together. And it is a great proxy for doing that. Again, Peter Chatsky, Kate Conley, Beth Davidson, Mike Sachs, the wonderful Effie, who we're going to be talking to in a minute, John Sullivan, and Jessica Ryman all have websites up where you can get involved and get in touch. And then finally, stick to the facts. They really do mean a lot, and they carry the day at the end of the day, and stay positive. All of our candidates are wonderful people who are giving up significant parts of their lives. Mike Sachs talked on Thursday about how every event he goes to is time he's not spending with his sons. And I think you'll find that with every single one of our candidates. There's significant opportunity costs, and I couldn't be more proud of them and more appreciative of the sacrifices that they're making for all of us in order to put themselves forward as our potential representative. And with that, I also wanted to mention we have a candidate forum, and we have one of the talented participants of this candidate, Effie Phillips-Staley, on the line with us today, and we'll hear why, like, she's going to make the stage, and how versatile she is in so many ways. There is a petition out there to make sure that all 7 candidates get the spotlight on them. Thank you to Jade Michael Glaze. If you are interested in signing that petition, hold your phone up to this screen if you're watching on your computer, and I think I'm like 95% sure a little link will pop up, and then you can click on it and add your name to that petition. But regardless, as Suzanne Berger came on, we had strong disagreement about this on Thursday. And she noted that there are many ways to get to know the candidates, and there'll be other forums in the future. So please do get to know your candidates. And now I will actually bring on stage the wonderful, amazing Effie Phillips-Staley. And hold on, I'm going to give you you have a great intro here that I drafted up.
Thank you. Hi, Kevin. Thanks for having me.
Of course, Effie Phillips-Staley is a nonprofit executive with a decades-long work in history and education, culture, and social justice. She is currently serving her 2nd term as a trustee in the Village of Tarrytown, where she prioritizes creating safe, walkable streets, building more affordable housing, boosting climate change resilience, and supporting local businesses. Effie grew up in a middle-class family in Sacramento, California. Her mother immigrated to the United States from El Salvador. Her father was a war veteran who served in the United States Army in World War II and the Air Force during the Korean War. And today you live in Tarrytown with your husband and 2 children.
That's right. I've had the great joy of raising my children here in the district who attended public schools. And in fact, next week, my son is leaving for college, which I can't
Holy
even
moly.
believe. Like, I'm in terrible denial about it, and so excited that, like, I was a product of public schools that really helped my family sort of get great social mobility, working class to the middle class, and my children have had the same benefit of a public education that really prepared them. My daughter's still in high school, so I still have a kid around.
You still have her for now.
Thank God. But yeah, we're like the work of preparing my son, a young man,
Mm-hmm.
to enter into the world was done here in this district. This district raised
Mm-hmm.
him, and so yeah, yeah. So I'm excited for him and sad for myself in some ways.
is is he going far? Is he like what?
No,
Okay.
he's going to Tufts. So he's going
Oh, great
to the
school.
yeah, I'm very proud, and he's going to the Boston area. Yeah, so
Yes, Somerville is a really cool little town, little village there, and
yeah,
it's like in Boston is a wonderful city.
yeah. So
Yeah,
it's great.
that's awesome. Well, it's really nice to see you again, and I have a reason for this question, but Oliver Staley, your husband, what's
He
his
kept it
deal?
secret. My husband is the most wonderful, like, supportive, amazing person and
Oh,
father, like a
uh-huh.
terrific partner. Oliver Staley,
Mhm,
a journalist,
mhm,
and somebody who knows how to put up a good he doesn't nothing I say passes. Like, it always
mhm.
has to be interrogated. And because he's a journalist, right? And
Yeah,
so and
uh-huh,
which is wonderful because it's created the kind of critical dialogue in our home that I think our
mhm,
kids really benefited from. Like,
yeah,
don't accept authority at face value,
yeah,
don't
amen.
accept information at face value. It's okay to interrogate. And
Yeah,
so I'm curious to see what question my husband put forward.
yeah. So for our dear viewers, I did ask if Effie's husband Oliver had a question for her today to start off our conversation, and he did. And it's a good one. So,
Oh boy. Oh
no,
no.
it's really great because it does go to your biography
Mhm.
and history, particularly in the arts. He
Mm,
mentioned that you've studied fine art and art history at Berkeley. You received an
that's right.
MFA in sculpture at UC Davis. You
That's
had a
right.
serious art practice. You've returned to school. You've participated in the art departments of museums, including MoMA and the Whitney and the Dulwich Picture Gallery in London. Art has played a critical role in your life and how you've engaged with the world. And his question, which I think is such an interesting one, is how has your engagement in the creative arts informed how you think about your role as a public servant?
Wow, Oliver. Wow, what a great question. This is not something that comes up in the typical rhetoric of,
Yeah.
well, typically the kind of stuff we talk about. But I will say um, that what is so important about arts and culture and the arts in general is that the participating in the arts, looking at art, thinking about it, is a way of it's its own way of interrogating information, right? It
Mm,
is it enables people to think differently, not to accept patterns of thinking that are presented to us, but to really think um, critically about what a person sees and what they create. So I'll give an example.
yeah.
When I was working at Dulwich Picture Gallery in the UK, and we had a program for older people and for people with dementia, right?
Mhm,
And so it was called Visual to Vocal, and it was a partnership between English touring opera, the gallery itself, and people living with dementia and their caregivers. And what we would do is we would spend time in the galleries, looking at art, asking questions about it, creating stories.
mhm.
And then, in partnership with English Touring Opera, the participants, the people with dementia and their caregivers, would compose an opera and then perform it.
What?
And yes, and I mean, I could share a video on it because
Yeah,
it's just so beautiful,
yeah.
and it had the effect of first of all, immense joy for the people who were experiencing dementia to be in the moment, sort of
Mhm.
singing and looking at art and participating. Great relief for the caregivers who have a huge burden in
Mhm.
caring for people who are suffering from dementia. And they need care as well.
Mhm.
And we would perform it in the galleries. And it was so beautiful that the public, really come, appreciate it, participate. Um, who would think that people with dementia could actually compose a beautiful opera?
Yeah.
But we can. We have all these different kinds of abilities, and the
Mhm.
arts have this way of shattering um, perceptions of what people should be and enables
Mhm.
people to be what they can be. So it's a nice way of thinking differently. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good to think differently in a world where people want you to think all in the same way. So um, I had someone say to me the other day in a conversation when I explained that my background was in the arts. They said, "No wonder you're creative in the solutions you're trying to present.
Yeah.
That's what an art education
Mhm.
could give to people." Like,
Mhm.
and so anyway, I appreciate that question from Oliver, and I'll give one more example that
Yeah.
briefly, but critically. But another thing that we did was, well, I'll say at Yale in
Mhm.
the School of Medicine, they developed a partnership with the Yale Museum for medical students, dermatology students, because
Mhm.
dermatology, for example, is diagnoses happen visually, but because so much of our time in school is spent on STEM, visual literacy is not something that's well developed in a lot of people. Like, how do you
Mhm.
look at things and then really um, describe them or understand
Mhm.
them? And so, what the medical school found was that the students were not capable of doing diagnoses easily in dermatology because that's entirely visual,
Mhm.
right? And then they're like, how do we teach people how to look at things and really see things?
Yeah.
So they partnered with the museum to do visual literacy training by looking at art and
That's so
describing art.
interesting. Yeah.
And that was a program that was started 20 years ago,
Mhm.
and it's since spread to medical schools around the world as part of medical school curriculum.
Yeah.
So another reason why you know the arts are so important. And frankly, and I have to call it
Yeah.
out, it is something that is under serious attack
Mhm.
in our nation in this moment in terms
Yeah.
of the funding that is being cut.
Mhm.
And it's the idea that art is somehow frivolous and not something that has a real value in terms of how we perceive the world,
Mhm.
um, is a grave mistake.
Yes.
And I don't know that this administration, I think this administration understands what it's doing
Mhm.
by
Very
cutting
much.
funding for the arts.
Mhm.
It's cutting creativity. It's cutting the ability to help people learn to question
Imagination.
um, and imagination,
Mhm.
all of these things. So I do carry a lot of that with me in terms of how I look at policy and in terms of how I look at people and whether or not they have the opportunity to find joy in their lives.
Yeah.
So yeah. So thanks,
Yeah.
Oliver, for that question.
Yeah. Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you
And
for
of
Kevin for
course.
asking it.
And I mean, like one of the things I mean, I've so appreciated about the arts in my life is its ability to um, inspire and
Yes.
provide hope.
Yes.
And I think that we need to kind of bottle that up and take every advantage of every opportunity
And
to look
and
ahead.
and freedom.
Mm-hmm.
If
Mm-hmm.
there's real freedom of expression
Yes.
is something that artists really advance.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a reason when we look at, fascism throughout history, that
Mm-hmm.
artists are often the
Mm-hmm.
first that
Are
get
persecuted.
attacked
Mm-hmm.
and the first that are silenced, because they're the ones at the vanguard or at the forefront of really questioning
I mean, do we have to look further than
paradigms.
the Kennedy Center as a just a national example? But we
I
can
mean, it's plain as day. We could
yeah,
we could have our whole session on
we
art.
could just take apart that whole situation right now. But it has been a journey since we last met like 2 months ago. How has the
Yes.
campaign been going?
My goodness, I am 3 months and 4 days into since launching the campaign, and it has been it's been incredible.
Mm-hmm.
It has been as a candidate, we see a full spectrum of responses to our condition in this
Mm-hmm.
nation right now, from immense despair to great hope.
Mm-hmm.
But universally, people are ready for the fight because
Mm-hmm.
we recognize that within this district, of course, and across the nation, as we see how things are playing out in Texas and California, we everybody understands how critical this district is, how critical it is to flip this seat,
Mm-hmm.
um, and to take it back, and not just for the Democrats, because it's beyond that now. It's
Mm-hmm.
for the nation.
Mm-hmm.
It's to preserve our democracy and to
Mm-hmm.
get things back on track, which will not be easy given the level of destruction that we are seeing, given
Mm-hmm.
the degree to which institutions are being compromised
Mm-hmm.
by the Trump administration with the support of Mike Lawler. But, so it is an immense privilege to be in this fight and to advance an agenda that I think, and frankly, it's based on the conversations I've had for months,
Mm-hmm.
and that I think is the direction that this nation needs to go in. So um, it's been extraordinary, and I'm grateful to be in it.
Yeah, and we're grateful to have you in it. And as you've been traveling across the district, I know we're going to get deep into immigration, but any other issues that have been kind of top of mind for voters that you've been hearing about?
Sure, sure. I mean, I, boy, can I go into that? But I'll say
Yeah.
first, what has bubbled up and turned into the agenda that we released from my platform
Hmm.
is based really on, well, I'll just dive right into
Yeah.
it. Like a week ago, I mean, because it's it's not enough to just call out Mike Lawler. I mean,
Hmm.
we know who he is. We
Hmm.
know what he advances, what he votes for. That's very clear.
Hmm.
Um, what is the vision that we need moving forward to transform this country? And so I put forward an agenda that is based on the hundreds and hundreds of conversations I've had at this point with constituents. And then we
Hmm.
call it the Suburban Progress Agenda, is what we're calling it. That's what we
Hmm.
believe it is. And there are five key areas, like, and
Yeah,
I'll
go
build,
for it.
fund, care, heal, and reform. And so for building, that is a response to the staggering housing crisis that this nation and this district faces. So in the agenda, the plan that we would advance is building 5 million new homes nationwide with 66,000 mixed income units. Here in New York, 17. So teachers, nurses, first responders, people can actually afford to live where they serve. The 5 million homes comes from the Brookings Institute's projections for what we need. And the 66,000 is a calculation that's based on how many units we need to impact the cost of rent and housing in particular, and make those costs start to drop. So we
Hmm.
see that happening over 10 years. We think in terms of fund, providing cash assistance for people who would like to buy homes. $50,000 in cash assistance is going to help people stay here, help their kids stay here, and build
Hmm.
generational wealth. We need universal childcare from birth to kindergarten, which is, we could be a whole other subject, but that's
Yeah.
part of the platform. We need to we need Medicare as a public option, at least. It is absolutely essential that we cover, people can't thrive if they're not healthy. And this is something, it's a very simple statement, but it's something that you certainly know, given your expertise in the field. But a system that provides vision, dental, mental health, and then reproductive care, of course, is what we need to help families thrive. And the way we will, oh, thank you for showing that.
Yeah, look
Um,
at that. I'm using technology.
that's my website, and it's all listed there. So,
Yep.
and which is
effieforcongress.com/priorities.
Thanks. And then we need a fair tax system to pay for it.
Hmm.
Um, Repealing the big ugly bill and a tax system where ultra millionaires, Wall Street speculators, and luxury developers pay their fair share so that the burden isn't put on working families. Right now, we know we're in a situation where the greatest transfer of wealth from working people to the ultra wealthy has been passed by Mike Lawler in Congress. And, you know, imagine what we can do to help the people of our nation thrive if we reverse that and apply those funds to enable all of us to live our best lives. So that's the agenda that has come out of the conversations that I have had on the ground. But it's not just that I have heard. These are the other issues that are frankly coming up in every single conversation, and I have hundreds of conversations a week.
Mm-hmm.
One is that the Democratic Party lacks vision.
Mm-hmm.
This comes up constantly, and as I said, it's why it's not enough to just point to Trump and Lawler and how bad they are. Like, we get it. Like, understood.
Mm-hmm.
What is the vision? And that's why we worked hard on putting forward an agenda that thinks not just about, how do we stop them from the evil deeds that they are up to, but goes beyond that. It's like, how do we live a better life? And again, that's part of the agenda.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that I have to call out, because it
Mm-hmm.
comes up in almost every conversation, is the war and suffering in Gaza. That comes up every single time. A war where Israeli hostages and Palestinian civilians are paying the price for the inability of Hamas and Netanyahu's government to reach a permanent ceasefire. I would be negligent's a soft word if I didn't say that and really recognize the people who bring it up with me. I mean, truly in every conversation. So that is something that constituents want the candidates to talk about. They want to be very transparent about their positions because they know Mike Lawler's position. What's Mike Lawler doing to get the hostages back and stop children from starving in Gaza, right? So, and again,
Yeah.
I know we're going to talk about immigration,
Yeah.
but I'll be plain that my position is that I've always believed in a two-state solution, in a
Mm-hmm.
sovereign democratic Israel that continues to thrive, but also a sovereign state of Palestine,
Mm-hmm.
right? That this is something that is not new.
Mm-hmm.
The Clinton administration advanced it, and during the Clinton administration, Netanyahu undermined it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it has been obviously, and I'm not going to say that this isn't one of the most complicated and tragic situations in the world in this moment. Um, but I do believe strongly that Israel as a sovereign state and Palestine as a sovereign state could potentially enter into something like, the Abraham Accords are a wonderful model where it stops being a cycle of violence and starts to be something that is where cultures respect each other. We see
Yeah.
that sort of thing working within the European Union.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there because I would be very negligent.
It's a critical topic, and I completely agree with you that it's coming up in virtually every conversation, and we need to have a robust a position on it that acknowledges the human suffering that is actually occurring in this world and our role and our responsibility as the nation's superpower to address it. It's a moral issue.
It is a moral issue. And what I think every single person I've spoken to,
Hmm.
absolutely everyone, regardless of where they stand in this horrible situation,
Hmm.
wants the same thing. We want peace and for people to thrive.
Hmm.
So how do we get there? How do we get there? I had one person actually
Yeah.
say to me that um, Netanyahu is Israel's Trump. And, you know, I I would like to see him do everything in his power to release the hostages, to get the
Mhm.
hostages out, and to stop the violence where the innocent pay the price.
Yeah. And I think that there are a lot of parallels, like, especially when you think about this as a moral issue between like foreign affairs, what's going on in Palestine right now, and also how our administration is addressing the immigration issue in our country.
Mhm,
How
mhm.
has immigration, the process that ironically was responsible for America's becoming, how did that become such a hot button issue?
Yeah, so I will say, I mean, I guess the last time the United States passed an effective immigration policy, any kind of immigration
Mhm,
policy, was during the Reagan administration. And this is uh, this means a lot to me personally because it was that time where, El Salvador, which is the country that my family's from,
mhm,
um, people who had escaped the Civil War and come to this country
mhm,
were granted amnesty.
mhm,
They were granted amnesty. And so that particular legislation created a pathway to citizenship,
mhm,
which people I know benefited from, and the nation benefited from as a result.
mhm.
Because you see hardworking people opening businesses, living their best lives, like bringing their children,
Yeah.
it was a wonderful thing to do in the
Mhm.
face. I'm sorry, I just lost
It's
my
okay.
ear thing. In the face of that violence. I
Mhm,
think where that particular policy was not as effective and where we haven't been able to be successful since then is how do we manage the border,
mhm,
right? How do we manage the number of people who come here seeking asylum, though it's pretty much understood that a large percentage of those people may not actually qualify for asylum, though that is something that has to be adjudicated, but may be fleeing as a result of
mhm,
other kinds of violence, of economic challenges,
mhm,
all of these things. And so, why is it a hot button issue? I think in this moment, it is a hot button issue. Well, A, because it hasn't been fully resolved. But I think for the Trump administration, we know that it was an advantage to him politically that it
mhm,
was not resolved.
mhm,
Otherwise, he wouldn't have blown up the bipartisan immigration bill.
mhm,
He needed this situation to remain unresolved
mhm,
so he can vilify immigrants,
mhm,
so he can vilify Hispanics
mhm,
specifically, but other groups as well,
mhm.
as political rhetoric to help him win the election. I mean, he's said things as appalling as, that immigrants sort of pollute the blood of our nation. I mean, it's entirely a racist position, and I
Mhm,
can say that as a person whose mother is from El Salvador and whose father is from Oklahoma.
mhm.
So, what does this mean, pollute the blood of our? I mean, like, here I exist as a result of
Yeah.
these conditions, right? As an American, as a person um, who contributes, I think, quite a lot to this country. So, like all of us do,
Mhm,
what is the nation but its people?
mhm.
So the idea that he would enable this situation to go unresolved for his own political gain, so he can sow terrible division and
Yeah.
stoke racism for his own selfish intent, and that Mike Lawler would advance that too
Mhm,
by passing the big ugly bill
mhm,
that actually funds the kind of draconian, uh,
mhm.
horrific immigration enforcement that is so shameful and that
Yep.
we're seeing right now in this country. Yeah, we
Yeah.
have to solve it. We have to solve it because people should not be used as like a political football to advance um, the power of a few. And right now, Donald Trump uses immigrants, he vilifies them so he can remain powerful.
I couldn't agree more. And for the facts, there are 46 million total immigrants in our country, about 3/4 of which are U.S. citizens or permanent residents. But yet, I feel as though like we've lost at least optically strength on this issue as a party. Overall, 61% of voters rated immigration as a very important issue in 2024, up 9 points since 2020. On border security, 88% favored improved border security, and that was across both parties. And then this is from, of course, like the Pew Research Center, the gold standard, and really thinking about, in my view, like electoral politics. Voters were far more confident in Trump on with President Trump on immigration than at the time with not Vice President Harris. How did we lose our positioning on this issue, and what should we be thinking about doing differently? I mean, you mentioned that HR1 really structurally changes how we handle immigration policies in this country and how we treat individuals who are not born in America, from preventing them from accessing the social safety net to making tremendous investments in ICE and border wall construction at a scale never before seen, creating new detention centers across the country. Where have we lost our position? What should we be doing differently?
I think we've lost our position. I'm sorry, this is a very big question, and I'm trying to think of the most
Yeah.
concise. It's a mashup of the failure of well, first of all,
hmm
of a stunning amount of disinformation,
hmm
sort of vilifying people as criminals. And this is
hmm
something I've seen in the troll wars that have come
hmm
after me online.
Yeah.
When I post about these issues, people mistakenly believe that this nation is being invaded.
hmm
That is the rhetoric.
Yes.
So instead of sort of the looking at our history
hmm
and seeing how our nation is what it is as a
hmm
result, and that many of us, certainly not all of us, but many of us are here as a result of the kind of immigration that we're seeing play out now.
Yep.
Um, that is now framed as an invasion, as a war. And I've actually even had one person say to me online that anyone who supports immigrants is in this war, this perception of these of
Yeah.
women and children who were
The other.
um,
hmm
the other
hmm
is a traitor,
hmm
and in the hatred that happens
hmm
online, that is something that being a traitor is punishable by death, right? Like
I mean,
people.
like, how awful is why would good people run for office? I mean, we need to kind of try to figure out a way to make like do a mean tweets or something. But in all reality, like the rhetoric of that the discourse is pretty awful.
It's shocking, and it benefits Trump.
hmm
Trump and Lawler, they
hmm
benefit, they thrive in division, which, and
hmm
so there is that. I think that that's part of why we are where we're at,
hmm
but it's also that the Democratic Party hasn't presented a strong moral vision on this
hmm
yet,
hmm
and we absolutely must, you know, at some point we the polling is one thing, but
hmm
the moral visioning
imperative.
and
Yeah. hmm
execution is the thing.
hmm
I see that locally in terms of housing. We know we need more affordable housing.
hmm
We know we have to push it through. There are
hmm
so many people who don't want it in their backyards, right?
Yeah.
At some point you just have to, you know what's right, and then you turn the gear.
Do you
But
have
to
a
be
vision?
able. For
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, in terms of immigration, like we need. Well, first of all, we have to return to a government that puts people first. We are
hmm
not that kind of nation right now. We've moved into some other sort of, I don't even know how to describe this crazy selfishness, but the role of government is to enable people to live their best lives and to enable justice to prevail. So we need a roadmap to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, right? And of course, a modernization of the immigration system, particularly for our dreamers. And it's not just about compassion, right? Like, we have 500,000 unfilled jobs in the manufacturing sector. Why wouldn't, we know how much we rely on migrant labor within agriculture. Why wouldn't we create systems that takes advantage of the situation of people who want to work and jobs that need to be filled that are currently unfilled because the labor force isn't large enough? So of course we should advance a roadmap to citizenship that takes that into consideration. We have to absolutely end the use of private prisons and private detention facilities that are paid for by our tax dollars and are not regulated. I mean, when somebody starts to build a system in the United States that's based on CCOT and El Salvador, a country that I love, but why on earth is the United States taking cues in how to manage our social justice system from anything other than,
Yeah.
the history and
Yeah.
capacity of our own system, which countries across the world modeled themselves on? So there's that. I think so I was recently at the federal courts because I wanted to see what it was
I saw
like.
you online.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to see what it was like once people are entering into the court system. And what we have are people attending court as they're required to pursue their asylum cases, right? They are given a court date by the judge because there is due process. These things need to be adjudicated, but they're being taken immediately by ICE the moment they step out of the courtroom, which cuts off their ability to complete this process.
Yeah.
It is appalling, but not only that, our system currently does not provide legal support for migrants. So I was also in the juvenile court where I saw children as young as year and a half, right? And then 17-year-olds, the age of my son, right? Or a little bit younger, representing themselves in court without legal support. And because that is not something that is provided, we absolutely should have a federal government guarantee of no cost appointed counsel, especially for the children. I mean, to think that a 3-year-old needs to go before a judge by themselves this is not a humane system, and we're better than that in our country. And then, of course, this isn't just about advocating for migrants. It's about advocating for the protection of our legal system itself, because due process applies to everyone. We cannot create a two-tiered system where some people get due process and others do not,
Yeah.
because that undermines the system of justice in itself. We're a beacon to the world, or have been, because we claim to provide systems that are for the people and that are just. But we are in a moment in time where our current federal government, the Trump administration, is seeking to undermine all of that, operating in the way he has always operated throughout his life, looking for loopholes, looking for shortcuts, looking for ways to cheat the system. But now he's doing it in a way that he's going to cheat all of us of our democracy. And so it's not just about protecting immigrants, it's protecting the rule of law. These are my positions.
How is Representative Lawler failing us on these issues?
What I think is most appalling about Mike Lawler in these issues is that he would advance the big ugly bill, which, as you know, as you know, a budget is the action plan for policy, right? It applies the money. And so clearly this entire horrific system that we're seeing is a result that he brought that into the world, right? And yet he has the audacity to come forward and act as if helping one or two people out of this monstrous system he created, it makes him a hero. I mean, grateful that he was able to help a young man from the Haitian community get out of the hell of private prisons, right?
Mhm.
And then the young woman recently, who's a Westchester high school grad going to Purdue, he was able to get her out. She went to a hearing just like the ones I observed and
Mhm.
was taken by ICE. So
Mhm.
yes, he intervened, which was good to help her. But you don't get a pass for creating a system that detains people, then getting one or two people out and saying, see, that's not it.
Mhm.
Because who he's not getting out are thousands and thousands and thousands of other people that he ignores. So he's selectively choosing and then expecting us to be grateful for it. It is shameful. In fact, there is going to be a rally on Monday in front of his offices
Mhm.
from with two women whose husbands have been taken, and he has not provided the same kind of support that for these women as he
Mhm.
has for other people, which he only does selectively for political reasons. It's disgusting.
$45 billion in the one big beautiful bill for constructing and operating new immigrant detention centers, including facilities for families, expected to increase ICE's detention capacity potentially to exceed 100,000 beds. This is going to structurally change how we think, from my interpretation of ICE in this country, immigration and customs enforcement and the role it's going to play, and its permanent engagement in our communities. So, day one, you are now our representative. Like, how would you do things differently, and what would be the first bill that you would be introducing?
So I mean, you ask a good question. Like a
Mhm.
congressperson, especially a freshman congressperson, is one person in a large branch of government,
Mhm.
um, and I think, uh, but when we take back the House,
Mhm.
I think the most critical thing that we have to do first is repeal the big ugly bill, because that is the budget framework to advance all the policies that are so abhorrent, from immigration. And again, to be clear, the biggest
Mhm.
transfer of wealth from working
Mhm.
people
Mhm.
to the ultra rich in order to
Mhm.
pay for these horrors, right?
Yeah. And it is
This
not
new
reducing the deficit, just to make sure that we're all on the same page there. This is not a fiscally irresponsible bill or transfer of wealth in any sort of way.
Nope. And so
Mhm.
that is really, whether I introduce it,
Mhm.
or the thing to do is to repeal
Mhm.
that.
Mhm.
And then to begin the work of repair and centering the needs
Mhm.
of working Americans, of everyday people, um, and restructuring a budget that supports that. And that
Mhm.
goes back to the platform that I described, what I would
Mhm.
advocate for.
Mhm.
Housing affordability. Um, I mean, let's think big now.
Mhm.
They thought big in terms of this
Mhm.
shocking transfer of wealth and
Yeah.
achieved it. I see no reason why we should do anything that isn't bold, right?
Yeah.
We know that childcare is an immense expense for families. It is an
Extraordinary.
immense
Mhm.
expense for families. We can create a system where uh, birth to kindergarten, parents are helped,
Mhm.
that with this expense, and like starting with um, extending parental leave
Mhm.
at the arrival of a child. Like I propose, 6 months of paid
Mhm.
parental leave with the option of an additional 6 months unpaid. This is
Mhm.
actually how it is in the UK, and it
Mhm.
certainly isn't the most and it might be the most conservative of all models
Mhm.
within Europe,
Mhm.
but so a total of 1 year guaranteed, where you will get your job back,
Mhm.
guaranteed.
Mhm.
And so that enables parents to be with their children through one of the most critical, if not the most critical developmental phases for their children. That's
Mhm.
when your babies need us the most, in that
Yeah.
first year. Um, and then knowing that they can go back to their job without penalty for taking that time, and
Mhm.
then applicable not just to mothers but also to fathers, to both parents.
Mhm.
Because I'll speak for myself and my husband. um, when my son was born 18 years ago, my husband's work actually gave fathers 3 months leave. And then
Oh,
1 week before my son was
amazing.
born,
Yeah.
well, it was it, but they
Yeah.
took it away 1 week before my son was born.
Just
And yeah, so he had 1 week off. Right.
I don't even know how that's possible when like you're like the mama's losing so much sleep. Everyone is losing so much sleep.
Our children
Yeah.
deserve more.
Hmm.
Families deserve more, and they deserve they sh- it should it, we should prioritize the care of our children and protect people's pay and
Hmm.
protect people's jobs.
I
We
couldn't
know it works.
I couldn't agree more on, and this is coming from the thick of it, the
Yes,
importance of a national child care policy. You hear even the president, everyone saying we need to make our country a more family friendly country because frankly we just need to have more kids. We need to be like getting building the next generations and but there is no support for
their
actually
i-
doing that.
and their idea of supporting that seems
Hmm.
to be women stop working,
That
which
that
is like
so let's go backwards. I don't know, 80 years.
which, like, if we want families to thrive, we should do everything in our power to enable people to raise their children and also still have the careers that
Hmm.
they need to sustain their
Hmm.
children. Because, I mean, come on, the expenses don't stop. As I
uh,
know, as my
yeah,
son goes into college. And that is another thing.
yeah,
When I went to college, like, I went to a wonderful public university.
yeah.
It cost something, I think it cost 2,400 a year,
Hmm.
and before that, it was free. These are not wild, radical ideas,
No.
like, if
How
we're
about
gonna go back
equipping a
to anything,
society for success and to reach their God-given potential?
100%, like,
Hmm.
how great and prosperous will our nation be if
Hmm.
everyone has the opportunity to achieve their best,
Yeah.
regardless of where they start out financially? And a good public education system, all the way through the university, is the way you create the labor force that enables innovation in our nation. If we make it unaffordable, we only undermine ourselves as a nation. And yet, somehow people seem to have lost sight of that. As an elected, I will
Hmm.
push for that. I will push for that.
Amen. And we have like a tremendously talented field of candidates, you very much included. Like, how would you see if, like, for district leaders and other active Democrats and independents and whoever is watching this right now on the interwebs, like, why should they think about supporting you? And what do you see as your pathway forward here?
I entered into this race because I come out of a lifetime of coalition building and advocacy for people who deserve a voice and should have a voice in government, but historically have not. We will win this if we as a party and those of us as candidates can be a true resource for everyone. Too many people have left the Democratic Party because they perceive that it's not for them.
Hmm.
They perceive that it's more of the same. I hear this all the time.
Hmm.
They perceive that, it's really the party that chooses and not the
Hmm.
people. My goal, for me, I see victory in two ways. One is, of course, winning, but the other, and just very quickly, is the kind of coalition building against people who've drifted away from the party,
Hmm.
um, to listen carefully to the needs, to make sure the policies represent that, and to honor their presence and recognize them, not just as a vote to help us win, but as a servant who's here to care for them, that
Hmm.
is my job. And so if we inspire this coalition to come together to flex and to vote,
Hmm.
um, that is how we win. And that's not even just how we win, it's how we do the job.
Yes. Yeah. And so, like, this is, as you mentioned at the top, this is not just a local race. This is a national race. And
Mhm.
it's going to require us to get the resources and generate the support both locally and nationally, the excitement, to get over the finish line in what is
Mhm.
going to be a really close election. What do
Mhm.
you see as your pathway from here? What are you looking to for the fall to accomplish?
From here to the fall
Mhm.
in the primary is
Yep.
really, again, to ensure that those who have been left behind by the Democratic Party are properly represented, and to fight for them in that respect, in that respect is
Mhm.
absolutely critical, because nobody wins unless we are truly representative. And I will say, like, when I speak with Hispanic communities in
Mhm.
particular, because that is my community.
Mhm.
Um, People feel that government isn't there for them, and so why should they bother?
Mhm.
Like, we have to prove, we
Mhm.
have to earn the trust of people that the party has not sufficiently served. We have to do it by listening,
Mhm.
by representing and making sure our policies reflect the needs of people who feel left behind. And that's not just Hispanics, that is the working class.
Everybody.
That is everybody,
Mhm.
everybody. I mean, look at what Trump achieved by lying. Imagine what we can achieve by really telling the truth and really fighting for people. I
And
mean, it is a vision that is absolutely possible, and we have to bring it now.
That's a wonderful way to kind of bring us to a close today. I think we started talking about the need for vision in this country, and you've shared pathways forward, both from what you've heard and how you'd respond in your platform. And for folks looking for it, effieforcongress.com/priorities. If folks want to get in touch with you and get involved in your campaign, how can they do it, Effie?
It's really easy. You can go to my website at effieforcongress.com, FOR. You could also email me, and this is very easy. It's effie@effieforcongress.com.
There you go.
And I'll answer,
Yep.
like, send me those emails. I want to hear it. I want to, that is one of the most enjoyable parts of the job, even though the conversations are sometimes tough. Like,
Mhm.
it's essential to hear from people. So please, reach out, support the campaign. If you believe in what you heard, if I am the candidate oops, there goes my earbud again. If I'm the candidate that that represents your
Yeah.
moral frame,
Mhm.
um, make a contribution. That helps fuel the process. So thank you.
It does. And Effie, thank you so much for coming back on. It's always so wonderful to talk to you.
It's great to see you too. I hope you have a great weekend, and thanks
Y-
to everyone who listened.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Okay, take care. All
Bye.
right, bye.
So everyone, Effie Phillips-Staley. If you liked what you heard, as Effie said, 2026, $20.26 over to effieforcongress.com. Send her a note, effie@effieforcongress.com. Get involved. Like, this is the time. Pick your candidate or candidates, show them your support, get involved in the process. We're building the infrastructure and the communities now to actually ensure we get out and represent our values come next fall. So we've spoken with Effie today. Next Saturday, not next Thursday, because we're going to give us a whole week. We'll talk with our friend John Sullivan, and about national security issues and the rule of law. Really looking forward to that. That's next Saturday at 10 a.m. We'll be sending out the link on. You can probably already reserve your seat on Facebook. They have a nice little RSVP function. Same with on YouTube. You can get a remind me link. But again, it is and it continues to be my absolute pleasure and privilege to get to talk to the candidates on your behalf. I really appreciate all of the questions you submit. Please keep them coming. Kevin at kevinfornewyork@gmail.com. I read and try to respond to every single one. Thank you again for tuning in, and everyone in the Hudson Valley, enjoy your weekend. Talk soon.